What up, world? Welcome to the Tankhead Moe Show. I'm your host, Tankhead Moe, and boy, do we have a very special guest in the building. We have Dr. Shaneeka Favors-Welch. She's a distinguished educator and scholar with a PhD in teaching and teacher education from the Georgia State University, with a background that spans in actuary science and international teaching. Dr. Favors-Welch has taught mathematics and physics in the United States, China, and South Africa. Her work reflects a deep commitment to global learning, cultural immersion, and the philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because you are. She is here today to share insights shaped by a career rooted in curiosity, courage, and community. Oh, man. Thank you for coming. It's a joy to have you here. Oh, man, I tell you, these words, man, them words and me sometimes we just get out of hand. It's a joy to have you here, Dr. Favors, with all seriousness. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming through and blessing us with your presence. Oh, man. So, I want to, ask you a few questions, about, things that's going on in the educational system today. Like, what experiences shape your commitment to educational equity?
All right. Take a deep breath. You okay?
Oh, man.
Yes. So we all have educational experiences, right? And for me, my educational experience, what makes me a culturally responsive teacher and really care about Black and brown kids, and specifically Black kids, because that's who I teach, is my own experiences of being othered when I was growing up in school. So I went to my neighborhood school, and I ended up getting in a little bit of trouble, and I really didn't quite fit in because I've always had this very broad mind of the world being accessible to me. But however, the students who I went to school with, they didn't have that same mindset. So It was always kind of like this back and forth tension between me and them, where it was like, we didn't call it bullying, but it was bullying. Like, they basically called me white girl because I took ballet, and I'm like, oh, I want to go skiing. I want to go and see all these things that they said were reserved for white people. And I was like, where did you get that from? Like, I don't believe anything is reserved for a certain group of people that I don't have access to. I have access to the world. Now, how I began to think like that, I don't know. But that was my experience. So it was very different. So I ended up getting into a lot of fights, right? And people would constantly say it was me because I was the one that was fighting, but I actually was being targeted by students who really didn't understand me. And because I didn't hang with the clique, they thought I was an easy target. So I ended up switching schools for high school. I was like, I need to remove myself from this particular group of people, because if I don't, then I probably won't graduate from high school. I probably have to go to alternative school or get a GED. So shifting focus, when I went to the other school, which was the elite high school, Black high school in APS, where everybody was like, oh, they bougie. So suddenly I'm here, and culturally, my language is one from the inner city, and my parents were working class parents, but all of their parents were like doctors and lawyers and principals, so they had a different type of access to knowledge. So all of a sudden here, it's in my yearbook, I was called ghetto. It was like, oh, you're ghetto. So I was just like, can I just be myself? So I'm over in the hood school, and I'm white. I'm over here, and I'm ghetto. So I was like,
confusing.
Well, not actually really confused, but I think it was my first introduction to labels, and that people always want to categorize you as something instead of just allowing you to be yourself. So inside of my own teaching practices, what I create in my classroom, and what I think is a good thing for teachers to create, is to allow students to come into the classroom to be exactly who they are, no labels, just who are you? What do you like? Whatever it is, it's okay in here. You know, as long as it's not destructive or it's not anything that's harmful to anyone. If that's what you like, then that's what I like.
Right.
And it's okay. So that really, really solidified my own commitment to equity and inclusive, and for kids to be inclusive as well. It's because we all deserve to be who we are in a world full of labels.
Correct. And I guess I want to apologize because I was one of those students, because I was in product of my environment. And I remember students people I grew up around, and students that tried to do good and had a good family structure. And when you, like, if they spoke a certain way, we used to be like, oh, you talking like the white people. Or if you did something good, like you said, dance, oh, you acting like we don't do that, you know. So I was one of those people and hung around people like that. They used to say crazy things, because it wasn't that it was that person or y'all. It was us, because we didn't have those resources and we didn't know how to speak correct English and stuff like that. So it was almost some type of jealousy in a way.
It is. And and that's the thing I always like to push back on, is this idea of proper English, right? So we have to understand that these behaviors and how we talk about white and black, we have internalized racism, and we have said over the years that really being white is right. Right. So it's like, if I can't achieve whiteness, then I'm nothing.
Right.
And because 2-parent household, or if you had a good family structure, then you're seen as closer to having what white people have.
Right.
And then those jealousies and insecurities and all those things seep in, right? But for us as teachers, we have to be intentional in doing the work and dispelling those myths inside of the classroom. So now that I know better, I don't fault the students. I fault the system for not helping you to understand exactly what it is that was happening, that was causing you to actually feel really inferior and inadequate, when we really didn't have access, and we know that it's very systemic.
Right. Man, that's very education. That's good to know, though, because I like I said, I was a product of that environment. Like, why do you think the lesson about equality and social justice in higher education? So what I'm saying, I'm gonna repeat it again. Like, why do you think the lesson about equality and social justice in higher education don't make it down to K through 12th grade in the classrooms?
Right. So, so the question is, we prepare. I received my doctorate to prepare teachers how to teach. Right. So when we go into the school, so we do all of this work at the collegiate level, saying, okay, you spend 2 years in your education program. We're preparing you to go out into the world and change lives, right? But then when we step into the classroom, when we go to the classroom to visit, or we see reports about educational achievements, the achievements aren't happening for black and brown kids. So there's a disconnect. And that disconnect is, one, everything that you need to know, is simply not enough time to teach it inside of the university.
Right.
And also, once we do teach you some things inside of the university, when you get out and you go into the classroom, what we call the real world or the trenches, it's so fast paced, you're just trying to keep up and you're trying to learn the system. And then once you learn the system, they come in and be like, oh, we're going to change the standards. Oh, we're going to change this. Oh, we're going to change that. So it's so many changes that that students who graduate are pre-service teachers who actually enter into the workforce, they never get a chance to really find their bearings in order to be successful. And another huge reason, which was actually my dissertation, is that a lot of the teacher educators are white. About 70%, maybe more than that, are white. And they themselves have not taught in the settings that they're preparing students to go into. Right? So you can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
If you've never been in that setting, if you've never been successful in that setting, then how can you properly train someone to go into that setting and be successful?
Right.
So it doesn't trickle down in the way that it needs to, because the work isn't comprehensive. It isn't critical enough to make change. And the way that academia or higher education is set up is that once you graduate with your doctorate, it's really for you to stay inside of academia and produce papers, right? So you're producing papers and you're not actually being connected to the environment that you're preparing people for.
Right.
So that way it doesn't trickle down.
Right. So it sounds like when we're talking about the white teachers, like they just teach what the system gives them when you're in an environment that you're not used to teaching, so you just go by the script.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you teaching to survive.
Right.
Because it's the day and life in the teacher is so much. It's so much. It's so many requirements that you have to do. And it's actually increasing and getting worse with all of the policies that's coming down from the state level and the federal level in order to retain funding. That it's just not possible.
Right.
For them to actually keep up with everything to, make a good educational space.
Right. And like, what are the barriers? Is it policy, leadership, or fear of confronting race and history?
I'm gonna say it's more policy for one. I always think about No Child Left Behind.
Right.
That was designed to actually leave everybody behind, to be honest. And the way that they package, we have to be careful about wording, right? Correct. So the way that they package policies, whatever they say it's designed to do, is really designed to do the opposite.
Right.
Like, that is one thing that has come out of understanding policy. So policies, for one, with the standardized testing, the over-testing, is one thing. Leadership just kind of follow the policy, right? They want to make sure they have a good school and they don't have a failing school, and making sure that they're checking all of the boxes to actually still receive funding according to the policies. So I say policy drives a lot of it, and then leadership just kind of falls in place. And what was the last part?
In race and history.
So for Black people, to me, I feel like African American studies is the only subject that is constantly under attack and trying to be removed. For example, and this is really for example, it was a mass shooting. The mass shooting that occurred in Florida a few years ago. I was reading one of the students. She was texting her mom, and she was like, well, I was in Jewish history class, right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so we can have Jewish history. We know we can have white history because that's all we get, right? It's whitewash history, the story from their perspective.
Right.
We can have Asian history. We can have American history. We can have British history. We can have world lit. But we can't never have African American and Black history.
Right.
Why? Because they know the power.
Correct.
That's inside of students knowing that history and the pride that they will have. So they know that they have to keep it away from us at a distance because they know what it would invigorate inside of students.
Right. And
that's at a policy level. Because the policy just not too long ago in Georgia. Last year, I believe they said that African American history was banned. And then there was a lot of pushback on that, and some schools were able to retain it, but we never hear that type of controversy over any other history other than ours. So they let you know whatever they attack, that means that's what you need. Right.
And the attack is purposely done. That's like most time when you talk about history and people want to tell you you're going to get the Black history stuff, but they don't tell you that it was already American Indians here when the slaves came that looked just like you and I. So everybody is not, the African American that they try to say everybody is, but you had to quietly move around, to just play the part. But when you start really telling the truth, then people don't believe you. Then you get the 5 centers saying I'm the native because they gave them the land. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they gave you the land, but they didn't want to give the real people the land because they took it from them. So
And they did.
Yeah.
And also in history, what they don't tell us is that Africans had been selling to America from Africa for a long time.
Right.
And in, I think, Christopher Columbus' journal, it actually states that the Africans actually have a route that they couldn't go through because they would actually not make it.
Right.
Yeah. Right? So you mean to tell me we made something that you can't make?
Right.
Yeah. So, just how powerful is that for students to know, right?
Right.
Like our story before enslavement.
Correct.
Yeah, it let us know that we're so powerful and that we created so many things.
Oh, yeah.
That made the world go round.
Most definitely. From your experience, what do parents not realize about how curriculum and culture are shaped in public schools?
What parents don't understand is that when we were enslaved, we were forbidden to learn how to read and write, right? Then the Civil War happened and said that slavery was abolished and now we were free. Right. And now we can have these opportunities to learn how to read and write. Right. However, the people who were making a lot of money off of us, because we were working for free and they were able to keep like most of the capital, right? They understood that it's power in you not knowing. Mm-hmm. So it didn't go away. They just reinvented it to look a different way. And what that way is through policy right now. Right. So the goal still is for us not to know how to read and write and comprehend. So that has never changed. And again, the way that they enacted this through policy, like the No Child Left Behind policy, as I previously stated, it was designed to make students become left behind because they control funding through testing. So it's like we test. And the teachers is like, okay, now I have to teach to the test. Mm-hmm. I have to teach all these standards to the test and then take away from true learning because now my class is designed to pass this test and I don't even know what's on the test, right? But I have to make sure I get through 100 standards for maybe half of the standards, if half, to actually show up on the test, but you have to be exposed to all of it. But when you are being pushed into a direction to just pass a test, then you're not thinking critically anymore because it's multiple choice, right? You're not thinking critically anymore. There's lack of opportunities to think outside the box or to connect, let's say, math with English or with science. You can't do that because they have you teaching to the test, which is actually very harmful for our kids. Right. Because it's controlling how you think, what you produce, and again, it's so boring for kids. Mm-hmm. It really is. So that's one of the things that I would like for parents to realize is that the system, how it's currently designed, is not designed for our kids to be at their very best and to actually really learn things that are critical for them to learn.
That's good to hear because I know I was a bad test taker. Like, I can do the work in the class, but something about when that test came, I'm like, this ain't what I've been studying. Right. Yeah, so I understand exactly what you were saying.
Right. And so many people have test anxiety, right? And one of the things that I learned doing my doctoral program is that it's so much research out here, but unfortunately, it takes us to reach that particular level in school to go through that process to understand where research is and what it looks like. And you don't have to wait that long to get it, but education is segmented. It's like you learn this in undergrad, you get a little bit more in your master's program, but then, you learned it all in your PhD program. Right. But in my classrooms, in my mathematics classroom in high school, I actually started introducing students to the theories and the research methods and processes that I learned during my doctorate program because that was real learning. And it was not multiple choice. Mm-hmm. It was like reading, thinking, talking through it, writing your thoughts down, coming back and thinking again, taking in new information and it's changing, shifting your mind. Right. Like that showed me what true learning really, really was and that we can give it to our students earlier.
Right. And that's good because that's how, like, what you was teaching them is something it'll be nice to learn when younger, so you'll have that way of thinking, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And be prepared for when you do.
Oh, yes. Students leave my class. Now, they cry in the beginning, but they leave my class able to critique so many things. Critique how systems work. Critique how, why does this look like that? Why did this person say that like that? What does this truly mean? And to me, that's really education. That's really what parents should be striving for their students to come home and be able to put the words together in a different way. Not just like, oh, I made an A. On the test, there was multiple choice. Like, well, you had 4 choices right here, you know.
Right. Yeah, I got lucky one time. I did the test. I don't know how I did. I did an any, many, money, mo. Oh, man. I didn't study for the test, and I was terrible. Like you saying anxiety, I used to get nervous like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I can't think, like the words, like my eyes were getting cross-eyed on the paper, and that's when we had the bubble in. And I any, many, mighty, mo my way to a passing grade. Now I was like, don't try this at home, but it's only, that's 1 in a million, you know.
Right, and that's something else that parents actually really should be looking at. What type of work is your child doing?
Correct.
So again, like in my classroom, it was math. My students had absolutely no multiple choice in my class from beginning to end. They never saw a multiple choice question in the class, and they cried for the first 2 months. They cried like, "Oh my God, you're so hard." And that was like, it's fine. I was like, but I'm not gonna change. You're gonna do it because I know that you can. So when they realized I wasn't going to change, they wanted to pass. It was like, okay, we have to actually put effort in and try. And my goal was for you to know that you know. I don't want you to see the 4 answers and work your way to an answer. Right. I want you to know the process, know the step, and know that you can get to the answer if you don't see it, because such is life, right? The answer's not before your face. You have to critically think your way through problems to get to the answer and know that you got the answer.
Critical thinking was something else.
It is, and it was so like the students who cried. I left the following year, and they received a new teacher. And one of my students, actually a group of my students, they texted me and they was like, "This new teacher keep giving us multiple choice questions. She don't even want to know what we can do." And I was like, "Oh, not the questions, the open-ended questions that you cried for 2 months about." But I told them to advocate for themselves. Well, let her know that you don't need multiple choice, that you want open-ended questions, and she should give you that because you asked for it.
Right. So in the beginning, they were having meetings. Oh, Dr. Well, I can't stand Dr. Well. But
she get on my nerves.
Now, somebody call her. Somebody, we miss you, Dr. West.
Right. And I ended up going to the prom because I taught them in the 11th grade, and I ended up popping up to the 12th grade prom because I told them I was leaving the school, but I wasn't leaving them. So I would, pop up, because that's really important for Black kids as well. It's like, to know that you really are there for them, that you love them, that you just not going to come in and out, because they have so much of that either at home or at schools during their educational journey. So I popped up at the school, and one of the young men, he was like, "Man, Dr. Favors, you don't miss what you had till it's gone." I said, "Oh," I was like, "Absolutely." I was like, "But you learned though."
Right.
Like, I did, and it was like, we want more of that. That's I think if we can give students that earlier, then man.
Yeah, sky's the limit.
Yes, the sky is the limit, and they will know that it's the limit.
Right. What signs should parents look for that tell them their child's school environment might be silencing or undervaluing Black and brown students? So basically, that it might be trying to silence them or undervaluing their
their identities, how they feel.
Right.
One way, if your student is not coming home excitedly telling you something that happened in school, then that may be a school that's not challenging, or that's silencing, or not really honoring who your student may be. For example, I had I had plenty of parent-teacher conferences, right? And I had so many parents that said, my daughter or my son, when they come home, all they do is talk about you. Like, Dr. Favors said this, Dr. Favors said that, Dr. Favors, and I was like, if I hear Dr. Favors' name one more time in my house, right? But for me, I wear that with as an honor badge because that means that I am inciting something inside of the students that make them even want to come home and mention my name and tell you something that they learned. Right. So just having conversations and check-ins with them about what they're learning, how they're feeling, is it any teacher that's making you feel, like you inadequate that you can't? Because if you open up those conversations, you'll be surprised with what students will tell you, your kids will tell you. Right.
And that, like you say, that's very exciting. But to like a teacher, because I can't.
And a math teacher.
Yeah, the math teacher. Yeah, I don't think we ever like the math teachers, to be honest with you. Mine was math and English. Mm-hmm. Yeah, them teachers, anything I had to write.
That was me with English. I was like, okay. But I have a method of teaching math that makes it very digestible. I'm not going to say, it makes it easier to understand, but you still have to put in that work and doing the problems over and over again. Right. But the way that I teach, I teach kind of like in the doctoral program. I give you all the information that you need, and I know how it fits together. And I'm just waiting for the student to see how it fit together. And once they unlock the method, then they understand math. Right.
Yeah, it's a good technique to have. You know it like that. How are teachers being trained, or not being trained, to teach with cultural awareness and anti-racist practice?
So I think I answered the question a little bit before. Right. With the teacher educators being predominantly white, they say that they're teaching cultural responsive, but it's very watered down. Mm-hmm. And actually, the work that I'm doing now is actually moving from cultural responsive to liberatory practices. Mm-hmm. With liberatory practices, it's really when you graduate or when you leave my presence, your mind is going to be liberated. You're going to know who you are. You're going to know what you're capable of. You're going to understand the system that you're in, because if you don't understand the system that you're in, then how can you avoid the traps of the system? Right. So you have to know it. So that is a part of liberatory education. And in teacher ed, and I don't think for the most part that pre-service teachers would get that type of training, but they will get the culture responsive and how do you incorporate everybody's culture into the class? So it'll be, I'm going to talk about Hispanics. I'm going to talk about Native Americans. I'm going to talk about Africans. I'm going to talk about people in the Caribbean, right? So they consider that culturally responsive. Right. But it's not liberatory. It's not exactly what students need. But to be honest, because it's not trickling down and because teacher education is predominantly white, I don't think that there's really room that they cannot prepare teachers to do something that they themselves have not done.
Right. So do you think they should employ teachers from the community that they're teaching in?
So let's say I'm gonna use you as an example, right? From when you said that you were one of the kids that was like white, black, and all these things, right? So just because you're from the community does not mean that your mind is liberated enough to actually teach in that way either. There's an amount of decolonization. There's an amount of decolonization that has to happen within our own community. And actually, that's another part of my research agenda that I'm working on right now. It's a theory called Critnor. And Critnor actually looks at the anti-blackness that occurs within the black community. Right? So there are so many teachers that I know that's like, oh, you can't come in here with your pants down. Oh, you have to when you come in here, take your hoodie off. Or, oh, you can't look like this. You can't act like that. So sometimes we do it to our own people. Right. So choosing people from the community isn't necessarily the answer. It's really choosing the right people that have this liberated way of thinking. For example, students who I teach, you can come into my classroom any way you like. Okay. Right? Because I'm not teaching your head. I'm not teaching your pants. I'm teaching your brain. I'm teaching you. So I look at none of that. But once I started teaching, and I definitely infused African history and African American history that's tied to science and mathematics. And once they get that history, you see the pride come. And once the pride comes, then when you come in, you automatically gonna pull your pants up and take your hood off, because you have this sense of pride in who you are and who from whence you have came. And that's my method, and some other teachers' method of getting to the kids in order to build their pride. So I think there was an amount of work that I had to do to understand how not to be detrimental to students, and again, just allow them to be. And yeah, so when they come into the classroom, it's just you come in as you are. So taking someone from the community may not be the best, because if you deficit, I
see what you're saying there.
Yeah, because if you deficit, you just going to embrace like
same,
same your beliefs that have been unchecked, and you have not decolonized your own brain onto the students.
Right. I can definitely see that. And another thing is what probably helped the way you carry yourself as a teacher, you know, and they look at that like, oh, she carry herself with high standards and things like that. So, and I like that about her, and that's something I want to be, whether it's a boy or a girl, you know what I'm saying? And
yes.
If you see your teacher, we call it swag, but, you know, very educated, got that swag, and you be like, oh, and just watching, you may not say pull your pants up, but they'll see how you carry yourself and be like, you know what, I want to, you know,
I want to be that too.
Be that too, yeah. So that makes a difference.
It does, it does. And I had locks, so I combed my locks out. But while I was teaching, I had locks, so I made locks like the cool, like don't ever let anybody tell you that having locks defines who you are, or that you this or you a thug or you that. I was like, absolutely not. I don't think it means it's the way you wear your hair.
That's right. It definitely doesn't, because I've seen some brothers with locks, gold teeth, very educated, well spoken, speak way better than me. You know what I'm saying? So you can never judge a human being by just appearance.
Right. And why we judging anyway? Like that's it. Like again, we have to be do better in our community.
Correct.
Without judging but loving, honestly.
That's definitely true. What kind of accountability should exist for educators who continue to deflect based on harmful teaching about students of color?
Accountability. Next question.
All right. Yeah. In your opinion, what does a truly inclusive and accurate K through 12 curriculum looks like?
Well, it definitely starts with really valuing people as people and removing those labels, honestly. It is to be inclusive, not just give African American history, African history, give history of all people, because only then can you put the whole picture together and see everybody part. Because yes, African Americans and Africans have a part, but so does Native Americans, so does Hispanic nations and Hispanic Americans, Asia, and I lived in China, right? So I went to China to understand why they were so good in math. And what I came back with is that, oh, wow, like, we all just people. Right? Because I could not speak the language when I was there, especially with the older community, because they didn't take English from the time that they were little. And my students spoke English. Okay. But when I was out and about, the older generation, they did not speak English. And when I was out, I mean, I'm up here like miming and pointing and nodding my head and shaking my head, right? But what that allowed me to know is that we're really all the same, right? And the only way that you can get to that is through experiencing what I've experienced, or being intentional in how we teach students about being inclusive, what being inclusive actually means and what it looks like. Right.
And I can see that in China, because they're way advanced technically, and math plays a part in everything that you touch.
It is.
So
And we say they way advanced, but really their thinking is way advanced. Their
Correct.
thinking is one of liberation. That would be one of liberation. Here is one of division. So we're afraid that you're gonna get further ahead than this. So we got to create this division, right?
Right.
Where in China, it's like no, but they don't have a race issue either, right? We want everybody to be successful, so they are more advanced in thinking,
Right.
which makes them more advanced in every other area.
Right. Because if you didn't look at when you over there, if you didn't look at like skin and stuff like that, they can sing, dance, like do some of the same things. Like you wouldn't know, like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, because I definitely couldn't talk to them, but I got what I needed.
right.
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 So you can't be no more the same or inclusive than that. So that let me know that the world that we're really all the same, and it's just these narratives that have been put on each group intentionally to create division.
Right. So why is it still so hard for schools to teach real Black history beyond slavery and civil rights?
The easy answer to that is that you can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
So the amount of books that I had to read, I actually had to go to the continent and do research in order to understand what traditional African communities look like, right? And I had to read their authors to understand those particular contexts. So you can't teach the history if you yourself don't know it.
Right.
And we know we don't know it because they prevent us from knowing it.
Right.
And if you're not doing that work at home on your own, then again, you just can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
So it is amount of work that we have to do in our own communities without being told that we need to do it in order to be able to teach African history and African American history successfully.
Right. Because that's so true, because I remember learning. Only thing I learned in school, only in school, was Martin Luther King, Dr. King, Rosa Parks sat at the back of the bus, and I remember I spoke up on that and said she wasn't the first and got in trouble. It was always
George Washington
Carver, the Peanut, Thurgood Marshall. Yeah, everybody that was a part of the system. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Martin Luther King, but he still was a part of that system at that time.
But then too, even when we think about Martin Luther King, the only speech, and this is what I teach my students too, the only speech that we hear from him repeated over and over again is "I have a dream."
Yeah.
Right. Why would they select that particular, speech
Correct.
when he had millions of other speeches? Because he was actually critiquing the system, but they wanted to keep us hoping and having a dream.
Right.
Because he wasn't very critical. He was, but he wasn't as critical in that speech as in others. So it was like, oh, let's just push this speech, right? So even that was tainted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just it gave us one perspective of him.
Right. That speech was, I think that speech was used as a okay, I'm gonna hit you, but then I'm gonna use that speech to say let's come together. Basically that's how I always thought of that speech. Yeah.
In this country, it's always been the rhetoric of let's come together when they know that they're using policy to keep everything divided between like redlining, making sure that you can only stay in a certain neighborhood, right? Yeah. So they use policy for all of that,
right?
But yet we're fighting to come together.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why they chose Martin Luther King's. That's why they chose his movement versus Malcolm movement.
Yeah.
Because Malcolm was like, this ain't cool by y'all. We ain't trying to integrate.
Right.
But they chose the path of least resistance, the one that's going to give you hope. But they were able to sit at the table and create policies that know that hope will never come.
Right. And you said something very important back then, like what happened here is division. And I know like what happened to what people call leaders. I don't consider us having no leader. I don't consider that, but they use money. And that would help with our division, because as soon as we'll start fighting for something, then as soon as the system throw that money at you, it's like, okay, let's obey the system.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism. So Like for me, I'm very outspoken. I tend to get in trouble almost at every job I go to because I'm like, we're not doing this. And like, what is this? Because I'm critiquing and challenging the system, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got married, before I got married, I told my husband, I was like, look, this is who I am. And good thing we were friends for 10 years. He really understood who I was. I was like, we have to keep these bills low. Because it might be a day I come home because I done said something because I can't help it, you know, because it's the right thing to do. Like you cannot, if you depend on capitalism and money, it is very hard to stand up to speak truth to power. It's very hard. But if those bills low, it's like, oh, okay, I might have 2 more paychecks, you know, like coming in. So you do have to, if this is a road that you seek to follow or a path that you seek to follow, then you have to be very intentional about how involved you are in capitalism.
Correct.
Because that is the divider.
Right.
Your participation in it. So I try not to participate a whole
lot.
Yeah, a whole lot.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Like, I'll mess up my rent money now. Yeah, I got you. Now, how does the lack of representation or cultural validation in K through 12 affect Black students' confidence and mental health?
Oh yeah. Well, one, it's a saying that if you see it, you can achieve it.
Right.
And I think you spoke a little bit about it earlier about how I presented myself.
Correct.
To my classroom. So when I graduated with my doctorate, I very easily could have went into academia and higher ed and just stuck with preparing teachers. But I really wanted to go back into the classroom to see how what I've learned actually plays out in the classroom. So I start my classes with, I lived in China. I tell them all about my experience. I lived in South Africa. Tell them all about my experiences. I visited Cuba. Talk about all of my experiences. Right, and what I've learned, and I tell them like why I'm here, and I have this doctorate, and when we have spring break, I'm going here, I'm going there, and it's not bragging. It's I came from where you are, so if I'm here in front of you, and I did it, and I'm telling you that I'm going to teach you how to think and how to get to that if this is what you want, then it's very powerful.
It is.
It's very, because no student can ever say that I'm asking them to do something that I haven't done.
Right.
And students, I don't know if you have kids in that, they be like, why are you telling me to do that? You ain't do it. Have you ever heard your kids say that? Like, I mean, you not doing that. You know, growing up for us in our age group, it was do as I do. I mean, do as I say, not as I do. But these new kids, they on they were like on your social media. They like, why you had an iPhone 12? We on 17. You know, so they're very impressionable, and especially with the influence, I think it's even more important today because there are so many influencers that they have access to. So I consider myself an influencer,
right?
Because I have to, right? Like I have to out influence, whoever is trying to influence you on social media, right? Like, you know me, I'm right here. Like, they could be telling a story, but I'm right here. So let me pay attention and out influence them.
Yeah, it's funny you said that about the kids, because I got 4 kids, but my youngest daughter, I was telling her mom, said it was something she's about to eat. And I was like, don't do that, because you end up in the hospital. And my daughter gonna whisper her mom to my, why was you? Why I don't know why Daddy said that. He always the one end up in the hospital. So the kids.
Yeah, so they watching. And, you know, we used to get put outside.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, we weren't privileged.
Till the street lights came on.
We weren't privileged to grown folks and adults conversation.
Right.
I was so left in the dark about so much stuff. But these students today, like, they know more than me. And you be like, what's that? Where you get that from? We got to go and research and look it up, right?
Right.
Because they just have access to all of this information. And they definitely want to, they miniature lawyers. They want to hold you accountable for everything because we hold them accountable.
Right. I be trying to figure out, like my son be knowing, my next to youngest son, he be knowing like all type of science stuff and stuff like that. But in school, he won't do anything, but he can tell me about Earth and everything. He was like, Dad, did you know that? And I be like, how you know that? Oh, because I read it last night. You supposed to be asleep, you know. That's my son.
Yeah,
you know,
that's my little. I have a little nephew who's 7. That's him.
Yeah, and he's 9. So yeah.
Yeah. Then they're inquisitive and they learn a lot of stuff on the internet.
So what can educators do right now, not just policymakers, to create safer learning spaces for students of color?
I think the first thing that they have to do really is understand what it means to be deficit, and really to understand that our system is still rooted in control in controlling Black people from the onset of integration, right? So when we integrated, we sent our most vulnerable population into, I call it the lion's den, to be taught by white people that didn't like them, right? And we internalized. If you go through a system like that for 12 years, we internalized that. So we really have to work to understand what is school doing to our kids that is unfair, like severe suspensions for Black kids or for Black boys versus Black girls. It's like astronomically different, right? So if you look and see what the problems are or what seems to be happening the most to Black kids, that's kind of like your litmus test to drive educators in a certain direction. Like, hey, this is an issue or a problem. Like, what causes this problem? Who are the key players in keeping this problem, reproducing this problem, and what can I do to change this issue? So it's really just being aware of the school environment, things that are punishing children in ways that they shouldn't be punished, and really just changing your mindset about your own belief about them being punished.
All right. I get that, yeah.
As an educator.
Right. Yeah. All right, we've had a good time chopping it up. Now it's time to turn up the heat. This is the part where I put the guests on the spot.
Okay.
This is the Tankhead hot seat. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Have you ever had unruly students?
Oh, I've had many unruly students, so many. However, they come in unruly, but they don't stay unruly. So, and for example, a teacher have to always be aware of their surroundings, kind of like you out in the street. Right. Because remember, I had high school, right? Yeah. So you have to be aware of your surroundings. So if I was like, oh, this person look like he might be getting ready to pop off a little bit, or he think he about to come in and control the class. So the key is to kind of stop. It's kind of get in front ahead of it, get in front of it. Like, oh, okay, I need to have a meeting with him after class, right? So I said, like, hey, well, I noticed this your behavior in my classroom, and I'm not here to try to control you, punish me, so how can we operate in this space together, right? And believe it or not, students really just want to be heard and listened to. So if you stop and take the time out to listen to them, then you can mediate so many potential issues. I used to have, because I respect my students, right? And we co-create in the classroom, we co-create the classroom norms, so they can hold me accountable just like I hold them accountable, and they hold me accountable. They're like, you can't do that. And I was like, I was like, okay, I'm sorry. And they'll say, we never heard a teacher say that they were sorry before, right? So in my classroom, like the boys who normally in the hallway, like causing ruckus, they never skipped my class. Now, they didn't do any work when they came into my class, but they was like, we like you. We know we like your class. We not going to skip. Now, we ain't going to do no work, but we going to come to your class, right? So I kind of try to get ahead and in front. And then real quick, I had a student who, she cussed me out. She wasn't even my student. She was just in the hallway. And she cussed me out like a grown person. I think I was a couple B's in there, everything. So I was like, okay. And the thing about unruly students with teachers, sometimes teachers have to understand their own traumas and triggers. So if you're not a healed person, it's very hard to deal with students who trigger your trauma, right? So there's an amount of work that teachers need to do, like go to therapy, so that these kids won't get on your nerves, because it's something in you that you haven't dealt with, that you need to deal with. So fast forward, she cussed me out. She was in the hallway like the following week, and I was like, hey, you, because I didn't know her name. She was like, yes. I was like, oh, you cussed me out better than a grown person has ever done in a long time last week. And she was like, yeah. I was like, nah, we're not going back down that road, because she's about to get fired back up, right? So I was like, well, look, what's your name? What's your grades look like? I said, I know you got to be passing out your classes. And she was like, oh, I'm passing out my class. I was like, Okay, she was a senior. So every time I saw her in the hallway, I just started messing with her and calling her out like, hey, you the one who cussed me out, just bothering. She was like, she'll say like, oh, stop saying that out loud. I was like, well, you did it out loud, But it was a place of me not treating her how she treated me, because I recognized that that's the only language that she knew how to express herself with. And because I'm a healed person or healing person, I didn't internalize it like, oh, she's so rude. I just like, she don't even know me. So I just started bothering her. And then the following semester, she ended up being in my class. And she was a senior. And I taught 11th grade, so she needed my class to graduate. Ooh, when I tell you, I was like, color purple. Bark like a dog. Bark like a big dog. Hop on one leg. Like, do everything that I need you to do to pass this class. And at the end, when I asked her, I said, now what if, because she didn't know math, honestly, I had to give her things that were on her level. But she did everything that I asked, and I asked her, I said, if I treated you how you treated me, you wouldn't be graduating right now, because I would make it my business, and you would have made it easy to make it my business for you not to pass and to graduate. So she learned a valuable lesson. So that's how I deal with unruly kids.
I have a 2-part question right here. What are thoughts on ChatGPT? If you got a test coming up, how does it affect educational learning?
Man, ChatGPT is it is something serious. It's very powerful. So for me, again, I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking about, if you're gonna try to use ChatGPT, what can I do to make you not use ChatGPT? So if it's a test, I go back old school. So you can use ChatGPT the whole class if you want to. But when the test come, we're gonna get that blue book. And it ain't no technology, no computer, no cell phone. It's going to be you, pencil, and paper to write it out. So at some point, students, we have to create a system where student understands that they have to produce without technology. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I do, depending on what it is that our students will have an oral exam with me. Mm. Right? So it's like you have, and because I learn each student, I'll tailor the questions to that student. I was like, I choose any of these 4 questions for you. It'll be a 10-minute quiz. The conversation can go anyway, but make sure you're prepared. Mm-hmm. So ChatGPT can't help you with that. So we have to, it's a balance between new school and going back to some of the old school ways of holding students accountable to make sure that they're learning.
If your silence got you in trouble once, what would your unfiltered voice get you fired for today?
What would it give me fired?
So if your silence got you in trouble once, what would your unfiltered voice get you fired for today?
Oh, what it would get me fired from?
Yeah, your voice. Yeah, things you say.
Everything. I'm probably on the chopping block at work right now, and yeah, it's out there. Everybody know, because I don't take I don't take too much disrespect, and then, people think because they have a title, they just entitled to do whatever. And I was like, no, because remember, I keep my bills low. Yeah, so I always get in trouble for pushing back on leadership for policies that don't make sense.
So you got my affirmation on you, on me.
Yeah. Now I probably need to, but that's the thing. It's like I'm a 1-person band. If I enlist more people, then I probably would be more effective or not get fired, be in the hot seat so much. Right. So that's why I'm starting my own school. Yeah.
Tell them.
Yeah. I'm starting my own school, middle school. High school is too late, especially for our Black boys. Mm-hmm. That's my heart, my soul, my passion. I have a nephew that was tragically killed in 2019, right before the pandemic, and I always remember his school journey. And he was a good kid, often overlooked. And what happened is when I went back into the classroom, all of the love that I had for him that I can't give to him, I was very intentional in giving it to the Black boys in my class. And because I was so women empowerment in STEM. But when I went back into the classroom with my doctorate and I started seeing how Black boys are punished and overlooked, then I was like, oh, wow. And they so easy. They so easy going. They need girls need a lot. Boys need just a little bit, and they're so easy. So my passion became Black boys. So my school, I would like to grow my school into a place, a sanctuary for Black boys to come and be loved and get what they need academically so they could be successful once they graduate.
That'd be a very good thing.
Yes.
I had a few more questions I want to ask you. How do we help Black students see their voice, stories, and lived experience belong in the curriculum?
All right. So one of the things is for their voice is how I said that me and my students, we co-create a classroom environment. So I'm not the leader. It's shared power. They can check me just like I can check them. If something happens inside of the classroom, we decide with the student, we decide together what happens to that student. It's not just coming from me. It's coming from them, and that empowers them. If they come and ask, why I got to go home because of a dress code, I was like, well, that's a good question. So what do you think you should do about it? And they research, and they were like, oh, well, this is really unfair. Okay, so who can you get on your bandwagon as students, and you go to the SGA, or you write a letter to the principal, to your counselor, or whoever, to get this policy changed or looked into. So that's one of the ways that we can create voice. Another thing, which I'm designing right now, are these research models and how to take students through the research process. So each student actually decides what's the issue in their community that they want to change, and they go through the whole research process in order to understand what the problem is, who are the key players, what do I need to know about this, who do I need to address. And in math class, I teach them how to use statistics and data to support their arguments when they're writing their congressmen and councilmen, principals, or whoever. So that's very empowering for them to know that they have a voice.
Yeah. So in your experience training or mentoring teachers, what strategies help them move from avoiding discomfort to embracing it as part of growth?
Well, one, going into the classroom is going to bring a lot of discomfort, right? I challenge them to, again, really just kind of understand the context that you're in, understand what it is that you need to know that you don't know, and find a more senior teacher or find the resources that you need in order to get through whatever that situation is that can help you to think through how to be successful.
And how can school leaders create environment where Black teachers and students don't have to choose between authenticity and advancement?
Again, I think it goes back to making sure you're equipped and knowing what authenticity means and what it looks like and valuing it. Yes. Right. And not punishing students. Like, stop with the principals at the school I was at, the whole day was pull your pants up, come with me, take your hoodie out. That I was like, we're gonna spend the whole day doing that. You know? Right. So it's like, and why? Let's be happy that they are here. Right? Instead of always, it's like somebody always fussing at you every single time, XYZ. And then too, we know that some kids do it to be fussed at because that's all that they're used to. So let's show them something else.
Right. So that's the end of the Tankhead Moe Show. Now before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you, what you got going on,
Okay. So where you can find me is at ExcelsiorATL.com. That's my school, the Excelsior School of Excellence. Starting up next year with 6th grade, boys and girls. So the curriculum is going to be exactly what we talked about today. Definitely helping students to understand who they are, understand issues on a global level, understand like current events, why it's important, how to connect history to what's happening currently, because nothing new is under the sun. How we arrived here definitely ties and connect to history. Correct. So that's something that would definitely be a part of the curriculum. Service learning projects. So every summer or even during some of the breaks, we'll take trips overseas globally to, just witness how other people live and to do service learning projects, because it's very important for students to be able to witness and see other ways of life, because you never know how it will impact your own, or how you be able to see things differently. So just really working on the school, and I'm building out some modules for teachers. And another thing I'm interested in is teacher wellness. So I'll be holding a teacher wellness retreat either in December or during winter break for teachers to come out and just, relax and problem solve, if they need to problem solve around some things. So all of these, anything that I'm doing will actually be listed on the Excelsior school website.
Okay, good.
Also, follow me on Instagram.
Right.
Excelsior_ATL.
Right. She's a very educated woman, so I'm telling you, and she know what she doing and know her stuff. Dr. Favors-Welch, I really appreciate you coming and blessing us with your presence. And I'm the host, Tankhead Moe. It's about the truth, the jokes, the Tankhead way. Peace. If you like this episode, please comment, like, share, and subscribe.